Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jeremy, founder of quickmail.io.
And this is Jack, Chief Lead Generation Officer at salesbread.com. Today, it's
I don't know what it is. It's a normal podcast. What people still don't get about cold email, right?
That's right. Here we are. Cold email started 2012, maybe. So it's Cold Email's 10th birthday.
Yes, it's the anniversary of
Yeah.
cold email, right? I mean, cold email
Yeah.
has been there since the time of email, really. So
Fair.
maybe,
But like real cold email, I'm thinking 2012.
All right. So before we go and dive into the definition of what we mean by cold email and what people still don't get about it, maybe it's worth to talk quickly about our sponsors. We have two great sponsors. I highly recommend them.
Yeah, our sponsors would kill us if we didn't dive
right.
right in. I'll start, Jeremy.
Okay, start.
Today, most B2B companies lack the time or the expertise to turn those cold prospects into warm sales qualified leads. So at salesbread.com, we'll bring you one lead per day using ultra personalized cold emails and LinkedIn messages. So head over to salesbread.com/contact, fill out the little form. Let's have a chat and see if we can help you make some moolah. That's it for me.
Some moolah. Okay. Well, the second sponsor is quickmail.io. Everyone knows about quickmail.io. Everyone's raving about it. It's a super cold email software. Well, good thing we're talking about what people still don't get about cold email. Great deliverability, of course, great for scaling. You should definitely check it out if you have more than one account to manage, because then that'll be a lifesaver, especially for your team if you're looking to let your team execute, basically. All right.
Fair. And let's dive right in. So cold email has been around about 10 years. You're listening to the show. You probably haven't been doing it 10 years, but yet there are still things that I don't think you still get about cold email, and even
tell me,
long-term listeners. Well,
what am I not getting about cold email?
Okay, well, we could dive straight into it. And I'll start off with the most controversial thing you don't know about cold email. A good cold emailer will spend most of their day identifying the next most profitable segment to target. And I don't think a lot of people still get that. I think a lot of emphasis is put on other stuff. But in reality, you have to be looking for that next, I almost want to call it like an MVL or a minimum viable list that you can then reach out to, put your messaging with, like all that stuff comes later, but you make the big bucks when you say, oh, wait a minute, there's 189 companies that match this profile. We've had a lot of success there. We're going to put something tailored for them. Let's go in. And it's like, that's very hard to do, especially when you're testing new markets. But that's where I think the money is. That's where you should spend more time.
Yeah, you get my stamp of approval, of course. Spending lots of time on your list will be time definitely well spent. Yeah, if you send to people who are half-assed, researched, then you'll end up with half-assed results, right?
Yeah, but it also means like, don't do copywriting for hours a day. Like it's almost like you're going to be in spreadsheets most of your waking hours or your working hours. And I think there's a lot of glamour behind copywriting, automation, dealing with responses or like optimizing. I think it's just like, look for the next group to go after well, and then let the rest of the team do that other stuff almost.
Good. Well said. Here's my one. And I want to put a small disclaimer before that. I think if we have done this episode last year, for example, or even 2 years ago, they would have been completely different. Personally, I think for the list, this is a thing that I hear very often, especially when people want to try cold email and they want to try quick mail. And so therefore we have a conversation. But my disclaimer is basically, I think the floor has been raised tremendously when I started, people had no idea whatsoever what that was
Mm.
about. And now they come well informed, well trained, they've done their research. They don't necessarily act the right way, or they still have some question, or they still don't get some stuff. And I think that's why we got this episode. But I think we're way, way, way better than a few years ago. Hopefully, thanks to this podcast, people having
Yeah, hopefully.
having learned a few things, a thing or two, just listening to guys
Tear
just rambling,
downs or right.
tear downs, good ones. But I think,
Hmm.
and that's something to still consider. I think the floor has been raised also for the receiving end, right? And so my thing I would say is, I think too many people still try to learn the tactics and not the strategy. And what I mean by that is I still receive those emails that says like, oh, I see you advertising for a Ruby developer. It's like, it's so way played out. This strategy actually just have very low results nowadays. And so if people stop looking specifically at what is the template that I can reuse, and this is actually why we don't provide templates in QuickMail, because they go very quickly out of fashion. But if they actually look at the strategy, which is, I'll cover it later in another point. But if they look at the strategy versus the tactic, then they will come up with lots of different tactics. They could change when the market is changing and responding badly. And I think that will solve a lot of people from, oh shit moment where their campaign doesn't work anymore. They won't need to search for, cool, cold email templates or the next cool thing, but actually just iterate
Right.
on the strategy to come up with, okay, right, let's rotate this one or do better A/B testing,
Yeah.
those sort of things. So that's my thing that people still don't get about cold email.
Yeah. I want to add like a sub item here, and it's most people still don't get that templates are going to lead you astray. It's period. Be very careful. It's not to say the templates don't work. It is to say that that's what's the metaphor, Jeremy? It's like you look at a skyscraper and you say, wow, that building stood the test of time because it has so many windows. Like I need to make a skyscraper with a lot of windows so it stays the test of time. But the windows have no impact on how long it lasts. It's like, oh, wow, that cold email worked great because it had these sentences in this order. No, it was the right person who wanted to buy that thing, and
it's much harder to assess the list. You could reuse the same template as someone else on a different list
right.
and have completely different results.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, we'll laugh when we do some of our teardowns. Like, wow, that was actually a pretty poorly written email, but I could see that working actually because whatever, it probably had something to do with the market's response to that offer, much less the actual sentence structure. But anyways, we got one for each of us. What do you label that? Like the floor has been raised?
I would say learn the strategy, not the tactics.
Got it. Okay, sweet. My next point here, most people still don't get about cold email that it's very hard, if not impossible, to properly A/B test.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it's like marketers are used to being able to put stuff out into the world and know with statistical certainty that they've chosen the winner. But cold email doesn't play by those rules. It's not having the volume required, the volume and the actions required to produce tests like that. It's not to say that don't test your stuff, but when you test, it should be wildly different variations, and you're welcome to do it on different lists, which would disqualify the test as being practical or helpful from a stat point of view. But instead, you're just like, that you've got sometimes fewer than 400, 200, 100 people on your list. It's not that you're going to not run that campaign. It's just the campaigns are different. It's not possible to A/B test. I'm going to cite one of the interviews we did. The title is something like A/B, whatever. You just really can't. So it's better to do wildly different variations and kind of take, I don't know, like more of an old school approach where it's like, yeah, let's do 100 of each and see which one's better. Honestly, that's a faster way to learn in cold email.
Yep, well said. I love that.
Mm.
Nothing to add, sir.
All right.
Shall I go with my one? The next one?
Hit it. Yep.
All right. I think still too many people focus on volume versus targeted strategies. So it's kind of like similar, sort of like to the first one, but it's absolutely not actually. Too many people will focus like, how can we push as many email as possible versus is your strategy actually making sense and is the best for business? So an example of that will be, hey, we've been contacting, 100 people. How can we contact 10,000 people? Instead of taking one step back and thinking, actually, our strategy will be better if we actually invite people to a podcast first, and then after that, convert those people into potential clients. Then we can do maybe, 5 podcasts a week, whatever, and then leads to that instead of actually just going purely brute force on one thing.
Right. I've got a point on my list that is a nice add-on.
Mm-hmm.
It's a numbers game, but not like you think. So most cold emails I talk to, like you said, they're seeing it like, okay, we know our reply rate is this. So if we just send to Y number of prospects, we're going to get X number of replies. And we know that our positive to negative ratio is this percent. So we just need to mess with the volume side. And that's unfortunate because volume is a very difficult game to win.
Yeah,
And
it brings lots of difficulties for sure.
And it's not, look, like I was going to mention volume. I'm glad you did, but it isn't to say that you can't succeed with volume. It's just really difficult. And you have to be one of the lucky few to find yourself in a market that's infinitely or almost infinitely large. Then you can care less about groups of 1,000. But most of us, we do care about 1,000 prospects. That's a good chunk of the people we can sell to. So what I mean by it is a numbers game, but not like you think, just forget about that volume equation for a minute and instead think about that end outcome. Like you need 1 lead per day as a sales spread thing. And we're a lot more obsessive about improving the numbers before you get to the top of the pipeline. It's like, okay, how do we improve our positive negative reply ratio? Okay, target better people, say better things. Okay, great. Now move a step up. How do we improve our reply rate? Okay, well, we're going to add lots of personalization. We're going to whatever, like you do certain things. And then the last thing you need to worry about is that volume. And a lot of times, like, it doesn't matter how many you're sending. Yeah, it's backwards. There you go. Yeah, I think you got 2 more on your list, right?
Yeah, I got 3, but one is kind of a complement of this one as well. I think way too often, so it's still talking about volume, but in a different ways this time. Way too often, people are trying to max out their volumes. So of course we got inbox rotation, and so they can add more stuff and so on, fly under the radar. That's been done for it, but I think people ask me way too often, how many emails can I send without being blocked? And I still hear that. And I'm like, I'm really puzzled because honestly, you can send millions of emails, have zero problem, be never blocked if people want to receive your email. And I can't judge what your campaign is going to perform like, right? I don't know if your campaign will be well received, if everyone will mark you as spam, whatever it is. So there is no hard and fast rule about volume. And if people spend less obsession about the volume they're sending and more about the target recipient, then I think they'll get much better, right? So I don't believe I'm
surprised
about this.
Yeah. I'm surprised mostly because, like, don't you think people that ask that question are the ones to say cold email doesn't work for me?
Well,
I'm just going to.
The reason why I'm bringing up this episode is that this is often asked by people that are new to cold email. Now they're coming to cold email, right?
Yeah. Right.
The veterans have only 2 ways. Either they figure out and they just want to scale, makes sense to me, use inbox rotation, have fun, do your thing. Or they don't get results and they're trying to push through. And it's like, yeah, okay, we'll see next month. Not a chance it's gonna work. But that's basically
too bad for them, right? It's like a single mindset shift that I think could have helped a lot more people that gave up on it when their competitors were having a lot of success. But what can you do?
Yep.
Okay. I've got a couple more. Let me knock out 2 in a row because
I
I've
got
got
two
some
more.
like quickies here. Okay, what's most people still don't know about cold email? It's a poor traffic generator.
Oh,
There's not
nice.
a there's not a whole bunch of campaigns that can send people to a lander that can then get them to sign up for this or that. Or I'm looking at you, people that try and do webinar signups. Like, yeah, I guess, but man, is that an uphill battle? Like it just feels like the wrong tool. And I'm gonna say it's we're just used to driving traffic places, but unfortunately, that's not cold email's forte. That's not what it's there for us. It's the best thing in the world for getting your foot in the door and starting conversation.
Damn.
Pretty bad for driving traffic, if you ask me.
Yeah, I would say to that, I still see people trying with B2C, and I'm not
Yeah.
really surprised that it never works. So anyway,
Let me throw in my second quickie. It's your list and your data are way more important than your message. But most people still don't know this about cold email, right? It's just more fun to look at templates and test a bunch of different things when, like, come on, you're probably not spending enough money on your data. You're probably not spending enough time on your list.
very well said. So you hinted toward this one. I think for my next point, I think have to remind too many people that cold email is to start a conversation. They want to close people on a first email. That still happens, still a thing. I see it less and less, but it still happens. And so I still have to remind people like, hey, take a step back here. How can you actually start a conversation with those people?
Yeah.
So that's one.
You know what's funny is, like, I've seen instances where people will reply with, you know what, we just had a meeting about this week. Can you send over pricing? But we almost never say, can I send you pricing as a CTA? It's like, if it's on the money, on the perfect timing, which you really never know. But if it's perfect for the prospect, they're just going to ask you, all right, where do I pay for this thing? If they're really ready. And when that happens, it's 1 out of 1,000, and throw a little party because
That
they're
is
rare.
why you need 100,000 prospects every day, Jack.
True.
All right.
All right. I got one more. You have
Hey,
one
me
more too,
too.
right?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Should we say them at the same time?
Nah, that won't work.
I'm joking. Okay. I'll wrap my list up with this. What people still don't know about cold email is it's a lot of work to do it right.
Hmm.
There's a lot of buzz around marketing automation, sales automation, um, using Zapier to connect this prospect with this thing, and then, like, you step back and you make a bunch of money. But over a couple months, like, you really need to manage people to put a good campaign together. You need to be a junior level data scientist sometimes. Like, it requires heavy duty web scraping to build, like, really good lists. Sometimes it requires, at the very least, like, a lot of manual hours to do personalization. It's a team effort. It's a lot of work. And it's also like a daily puzzle to say, okay, where's our next home run? Because cold email builds lists so, hopefully, so defined that you exhaust them by nature quickly. And this stuff is work. In order to, like, the companies that are crushing it, they have a team in place. It's not like one dude just did some stuff and took a vacation.
On my end, I may actually be slightly biased, but I think it's less and less of a problem for me. I see more and more people, at least, taking the education side. So, more people are buying a course, more people are reading my quickmail.io/cold-email article that lands everything before they contract and actually start doing the thing. So I think a lot more research being done, and that's one of the very, very positive side of things. And I think people are way more conscious that, oh man, this is more work than I thought. So I do see that being definitely improved on my end.
Okay. Less like shock factor.
Yeah, definitely. Like they know they're not going to do things right, and it's going to be, but
So why
they're
do I
still trying
still
to
get the
cut quick.
occasional caller that's like, "Oh yeah, you just do this and it's easy, right?" I'm like,
That's why they go for an
no.
agency, right?
Yeah. Right. What do you got? What's last?
Yeah, here's my last point. I think it's a funny one, is that, especially coming from me, is like, you don't have to use an automation system in order to do cold email. You could just do 10 emails, doesn't have to have follow-ups, doesn't have to have all the automation stuff. It's much easier when you sort of like know what you want to do. But hey, if tomorrow I need to contact like 10 CEOs for, I don't know, a summit retreat in Asia or whatever, I probably wouldn't use an automation system. I'll
Right.
I'll contact one or two that I know through my network, whatever, and then I'll do
Right.
cold email. And that's legally, it's like, it's a cold email, right? I could be marked as
Right.
spam. I could be reported for, contacted
Right.
someone I didn't have the contact, all those things. It doesn't have to be a software. And I think that's also something that a lot of people forget, is like, very often we do cold email without noticing this is cold email, or without giving us credits
All the
that this is cold
time.
email. Yeah.
Right. Almost daily. You're probably doing cold email by mistake or without
Not
knowing
just
it.
typing the wrong email address,
Which is the bonus thing, is like what most people still don't know about cold email is you do it every week. You're just not labeling cold email, but that's
Yeah,
a true thing. Okay, well,
that's it.
if you like this and you're like, where can I get some mo? Head over to course.quickmail.io. It shows you how easy it is to do cold email.
5 minutes, baby.
I know. Yeah, I have to. No, but it's a pretty long. There's like 8 modules and tons of videos and exclusive because it's like a complicated thing, right? Like, but if you crack it, you're going to be very happy, and your competitors will hate you a little more. But it's there for the follow up. If you really want to do a little better than your peers or your competitors, I highly recommend it. It comes with a money back guarantee. So if it doesn't blow your mind, you click the refund button and Teachable takes care of that for you. So go to course.quickmail.io. And that's it. That's it over here.
Always made me laugh. They blow your mind. It's like, your mind is blown that you're dead. So who cares? Anyway, that's the European
Fair
in
point.
me, just
No,
having a
that's
crack.
fair point. All right,
All right, Jack.
Jeremy. Well, thanks for a unconventional cast today. I liked it.
Me too. All right. Catch you later,
Cool.
man.
See ya.